Yo, it's Captain, bringing you a Tears of the Kingdom Adventure Journal number 34. And it was a travel episode. It's a real it's a real chill travel episode. And our entire goal for today, which is similar to the goal for the last few times, was get out of Eldin. I like Eldin, but I'm sick of it. I'm done. We saved the Gorons. I want to go somewhere else. And although we sort of accomplished that goal, I will have to say that we ended the stream, ended the play session deeper in Eldin than we started. Technically, we didn't start in Eldin, and most definitely we ended up in Eldin. So we made negative progress towards the goal, but we had a good time. And the reason we made negative progress towards the goal is because we got caught up doing fun things that were actually not in Eldin. So it kind of worked out, but we still haven't escaped. I didn't look at the map. The very next plan is to escape. There is nothing. Today it was clear out. You know, we were on our way from Foothill Stable to Woodland Stable, and we're coming down that road, and and the idea was we're gonna take that, we're gonna clear out those quests, we're gonna hit Woodland, we're gonna hit Goron, and we're just gonna finish turning all the quests, take the pictures, the picture quests, and then just be done. And we're kind of done. There's technically one picture I could turn in back at Foothill. And I would just have to make the circle again. So I might just not do it. We might just hold on to that picture forever. I might cheat and teleport over. I don't know. I really don't like teleporting. I like to think of the game as little adventures. I feel like this game's much more set up for teleporting than Breath of the Wild was. But I still have that sense of I don't want to teleport. I just want to go on an adventure, and I just want to like plan a route and then go on it and come back, you know. So but anyways, what was our route today? So if you recall from last time, we left off at the I looked up the name of this. Upper Zorana Skyview Tower. We left off after just going up there and finding the cool orb in the sky. That was really cool. I don't think I have a clip for you today. There was nothing. It was a really chill travel episode day, okay? We did some really cool stuff, and it was very chill. If this was the adventure anime, it would have been a filler episode, and it would have been lovely, and we would have had jelly donuts. But people, I don't know. If you're just here for the store, people would have skipped it. People would have been like, filler, not even a bikini. I'm out of here. Although we did go on a beach. We could have put on a bikini, I suppose. But, and we didn't go to Naked Cave. Naked Cave was yesterday, so. So we ended up on that orb yesterday. And the first plan was to fly out and get to the little island that was very clearly set up for you to fly to right after the orb. We went over there. It was very cool. It was just like a chest, and it had a treasure map. And it marked someplace down in the depths. I've got a couple of these X's on the map now. I don't think I've ever been to one. I think one of them's an NPC that marked for Misko's treasure, and then I've got a couple of these maps that mark something in the depths. So I don't know what we'll find, but we did that. And then I decided I was gonna fly all the way back to Woodland Stable, which was our ultimate destination. So I like wanted to fly. It's pretty long distance on the map, kind of essentially from East Eldin to West Eldin. Although we are technically, since we're at this tower, we're technically at the little edge of whatever section of Lanayru is there, whatever section the Zora town is in. Actually, there's another little island right next to the island with the map, and there's a Korok on it. And I was gonna do that. But the Korok actually has you dive off the Sky Island and like land in Zora Town. And I didn't want to go to Zora Town. I didn't want to start the next adventure. I was ready to be out of Eldin, but I wasn't ready to like go to a whole new town and get 1,000 new quests. That was too much. I was like, all right, Korok, you're gonna have to wait. So we took our little flying machine. I tried to fly all the way to Woodland Stable because my plan was just to ride the horse there. Didn't work. We did not get very far, before the gliders only last so long. You can't glide forever. I think unless you have because you can if they're vehicles. I'm pretty sure because like the boss fight on top of Death Mountain was a glider, was a big wing glider, and it never wore out. But I mean, it was you could fly it up and down and stuff. It wasn't just a glide. When you just put them on something and let them run, they do run out. They start flashing and then disappear. I don't think it's because it had batteries on the Death Mountain one. That just helped. That just helped our battery. You know, the personal battery you use to power anything. So maybe you just have to maybe you have to put a control stick on them or something. I'm not actually sure. I need to look at the design for the Death Mountain thing. Anyways, I'm trying to make these videos shorter. Anyways, so the glider ran out and we didn't get very far. So I just was like, you know what, back to plan A, and I just went back to my horse, and which was at the bottom of the cliff. And we're like, all right, well, we're riding on the road again. It's just this big road that goes over to Woodland. But what was interesting was this is technically a road I haven't been on. I haven't been from Foothill to Woodland, although once I get back into Eldin, I've been there because that's where we first came into Eldin. So I've explored there. I don't really need to explore again. But there's technically this little hook in Lanayru that we hadn't explored, and so I got caught. I got caught by some shiny objects off the side of the road, and I had marked a Korok. I blame the Koroks, as all problems in Breath of the Wild come back to the Koroks. That's a true story, by the way. Go look up Timber Taft's video on the Koroks from 100 years ago. It's the true story of the Koroks. But I had marked a Korok off the side of the road because I saw it from while we were climbing up the tower. And I was running the road, and we hadn't been on this road before. And I was like, well, I'm just going to run on this road the whole time. Might as well go get this Korok. So I climb up there to get the Korok. And I was like, ooh, there's a cave. Well, we got to check out the cave. And this was the funnest. This is where all the time went today. This is why we didn't get done. Because the cave was very cool, as all the caves are. It's all the new stuff they added to the map, like caves, depths, sky islands. Very cool stuff. Always fun. I always love doing it. Always probably the best parts of the game. So I was excited. I went in the cave, but what I did not know is that this cave would, you go in, you come out, and as soon as you come out, there's another cave. You go in there, and we went in there. It's a bigger cave, and you did all that, and then we went in, we came out, and you come out, and there's another cave. There's 3 caves. It was like a chain cave system. It was amazing, and we were just essentially digging into the big cliff that the tower was on. So as you're coming out of Eldin, there's this sheer cliff. But if you get to the top of it, it's kind of like these sloping hills, and it's all like the coral highlands, not the Monster Hunter thing. But it's just like it's like steps and stepped mountains, and it's got like the coral things on them because you're in Zora Town, right? Like literal Zora Town is right there. So you're in Zora's domain, and everything's got that. It's got like this coral watery shelf things, but now they're full of caves because it's Tears of the Kingdom. It's not Breath of the Wild. Now they're full of caves. So we got to do all these cool wet caves. It was a lot of fun. It was actually really, the first one was just a normal ass cave. But the second one had like, it was really big and you had to swim and it was wet in there, which was super annoying because they somehow managed to make it rain inside, so you're still slipping. I had to burn through. I had like 2 random sticky potions, and it wasn't enough, but it was enough. We just did them. We managed to just do everything. So we're slipping and sliding in there, but it was actually a really nice little puzzle sequence cave where you had to like, deal with a like, and then cut some stuff, and then with a swim, and then you end up in these are really cool caves. I assume they're watery caves because we're in Zora Town, right? Technically, we're like right next to Eldin. We're right on the border of Eldin. which is Goron City. Uh, but the second cave had like a ruins in it. It was like a legit Tomb Raider experience. You walk in there, and then there's this flooded ruins. There's like their castle ruins, and they got the statues, and there's water all up to like the chest of the statues, and you're running around. You're like, oh, this is so cool, and you're like breaking rocks, and there's fish everywhere. And what's really neat is there's like a castle doorway at the end. I tried to find a good clip of this, but it was such a long section because I just ran around so much. It's really hard, and it's like kind of dark, so it's really hard to get a good clip. So I think we're just imagine it. At the end was like a big castle doorway, and what you could do is you could open the door, right, using your ultra hand. You could raise it up, raise the portcullis, although it was just a wooden door, and the water actually drained out. It was so cool. It was so cool to find the watery ruins, and then it was really cool to interact with the watery ruins, do a little puzzle, and then the water drains out, and you can get to a few new areas. This was one of the Misco caves, where you see the little spears and the flags that let you know there's a piece of armor here, with specialty armor. And so when you drain the water, you can find like a little hole off to the side, and we got the climbing pants. Got the climbing pants. So we had the climbing shirt, now we got the climbing pants. I think it's a headband for the head, if I remember. This was gear in Breath of the Wild, but for some reason Misco stole it a long time ago and hid it here. Presumably they're secondary copies. Presumably these are secondary copies, and your previous ones got deleted by Ganondorf because he hates fashion, I suppose. At the very beginning of the game, when he erases all your hearts and stuff. So we got the climbing pants. It was just such a cool section. It really was. It was a very Tomb Raider section. Felt really awesome. It was a really fun exploration. It was cool. But like I said, this cave, you find the other end of the cave, and once again you come out and there's another cave. And the third cave, it was like this. There was how do I? There was technically two entrances to this cave, the third cave, just like the other ones. So you go in, you come out. But this third cave, the entrance we found that was at the end of the chain was like a hole that dropped in the top. So it was really like a one entrance cave that had like a secret drop-in entrance where you could find it if you had just done what I had just done, which was go through the cave chains. It was very rewarding. It was very fun. And this third cave was really nice too, because it was a challenge cave. You walk in there and there's this big green rock, and you click on it, and you walk up to it and interact, and it gives you the shrine dialogue, and it's like this: I will show you follow the beam of light and take this stone there, and then the stone just like is a green beam of light that shoots across the essentially underground river, because that's what the cave is. It's a long cave with an underground river that doesn't seem to originate from anywhere. So it's like a big long strip lake, but it has a current. So it's an underground river, and you've got to get the stone from one end of it to the other against the current. And they give you a bunch of like boat pieces. They give you like palm fronds, and they give you rafts, and they give you masts with sails on them, and they give you like a rocket and a fan and a control stick. I was like, well, why would I make the mast we don't want to go Batua here, we want to go Tatica. Let's put the rocket on there. And I put the rocket on backwards first and launched myself back into the wall, which was not the first time I've done that, but was still pretty funny. But yeah, then so we made the boat and we rowed it down the river, and we put the stone on it. And there's actually like little side exits, so there was like a little viney, hidden side cave, and then another little hidden side cave. So it was a really nice cave. Just like you're going down the river and you're seeing all this cool stuff, and you take the rock over there. It was actually really cool because you take the rock there, and it's essentially a shrine ring, but there's no shrine there. And when you take the rock's like, it's a good sized rock. It's not as big as the boulders, but it's bigger than the stones. It's probably like, oh, it's probably as big as a one-handed sword for Link, except it's, you know, it's bigger. It's a rock, so it's rounder, you know. But it's about that tall, you know, maybe the size of his arm or the size of his leg or something. And so you take it over there, and then when it gets close, it goes, "Ooh, you have thought you have passed the test, chosen one." And the rock itself like goes into the ring and glows, and it becomes like a shrine seed. It falls into the ground, and it goes whoop, and turns into a bigger rock. And the shrines in Tatika are essentially big rocks. So I was like, oh, that's really neat. We made a shrine. We planted a shrine. And if you go, like, because you go in the depths, all the shrines are light roots, right? And they're just big roots coming down. So I don't know if it was intentional or they just wanted a cool effect. But here we have the motif of shrines being associated with plants and growth again. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. I was like, is this how all the shrines got here? Were they planted? But it was fun, and it's a blessing shrine. You know, you just walk in there and you win. So it was really cool. That was our cave excursion, and we actually ended it because now I was like deep in. I went back out the front of the cave, and I was like in the middle of Lanayru in Zora Town, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a long walk back. But I remembered I had ascended a couple times in the caves, and they're all just under the tower. They're just all weaved into this cliff that the tower's on. So I just went back in there, back to the shrine, which like just tunnels into the cliff, and then ascending took me right back up to the tower. So I kind of just like whoop, and then we just started over and actually came down and got the Korok. That was the original point. I finally got that Korok. And got back on the horse, and we were back on the road. But what was cool, another cool thing we found in there was the Zora weapons, because now we're in Zora Town, right? And we found the Zora weapons, and technically, I think our first one we got yesterday, the guy gave it to us as a reward, the Zoro that we degunked. But they do extra damage when wet, and of course these caves are wet, so it counted. I think it just has to be raining, and the caves technically count as raining. Even though they're not really raining, they're just drippy. But what was neat, so we found like a sword, we found a spear, we found a bigger sword, and they were cool. I like that they've added modifiers to the weapons, because in Breath of the Wild they were just like stat sticks, and they had every, culture had their own versions, and they were cosmetic differences, and they might have been cool, but it didn't matter, because if the number was smaller, it just didn't matter. Every spear functioned the same way. Every sword functioned the same way. One-handed versus two-handed, of course. And they just looked different. It didn't matter. It just came down to the number. So now what they've done is they've taken all the looks. Well, not all of them, but like most of the looks, and given them special abilities. And so the Zora stuff is, when it's wet, it does more damage. I think it's like a plus 10 or something. It's a pretty good. It was like doubling the damage. So that was awesome. And I really love that they've done that. But then, of course, I'm still stuck with the inventory system and the durability system. And it left me thinking, I really wish they had just made these, permanent unlockables. Like, you now have found the Zora sword, and now you can switch to it when it's raining and do damage. Because that would have been cool, and I love the modifiers, because that's what they are. But essentially, unless I want to always use one of my inventory slots to be dedicated to a Zora weapon, which I don't really have enough inventory slots to do that kind of stuff yet, and I probably won't, if Breath of the Wild is any consideration, I still won't by the end of the game, even though I've unlocked them all, because I'll think of a use for every inventory slot. Unless I want to just like keep that weapon there and never use it until I get to a place that's raining, and they'll be like, finally, right? But if I do that, what'll happen is I'll just be down an inventory slot, which will just be annoying, and I'll never get to a rainy place. And then I'll finally, use it, because I just need a weapon, because I don't have enough inventory slots to have enough weapons, because I've arbitrarily restricting myself. So I'll use it anyway when it's not raining, and then I'll finally end up in the rain after it broke, and I'll be like, God, because that's what happens. That's what happens when you have these. I was like, I love the modifiers you put on these. I wish I had a way to keep them so I could just switch them out at the appropriate situation. Kind of like what you do with armor. But armor is really annoying to switch. You gotta like go into the bigger menu and play with that. It's not so bad, but it's a lot easier to switch the weapons because those feel a lot less like pause menus. It's still annoying. It does break the combat, but since you can just hit a D-pad button and switch really quick, unless you're using the bow, in which case it pulls out your bow and it's infuriating. But right, you can do it in the heat of combat. So it's like, oh, it started raining. Let me grab my rain sword. That'd be cool. Or I just walked into a rain area. Let me grab my rain sword. Or I just walked into a hot town. Let me pull out my hot sword. Right? Like, I think that'd be really cool. But I think it would be better served by a more traditional Zelda item system where you have just unlocked the sword and now you have it and it doesn't break and you can switch to it in the appropriate situation. And as you play through the game, you build up a large stock of weapons that are good in different scenarios, and you can just switch to them and feel good about making the tactical choice of picking the right weapon for the right job. Because you got to imagine they put all those modifiers on there to get you away from the idea of nothing matters except the damage number, right? Which was the problem. They made so many weapons, but they all function the same, so nothing mattered but the damage number. But now, because of the inventory and the durability, I don't have the space or the capacity to have a bunch of situational weapons. So instead, what do? I just keep a general weapon that is good in all scenarios, if not but not the best in each scenario, but good in all scenarios. And that brings me back to just a regular weapon with a high damage number, and we're right back to where we started. So I don't know. There's a lot of like really deep systemic like game system issues with the durability and the inventory system, and just putting a bunch of worthless disposable weapons everywhere, to make, which doesn't feel rewarding, even though that was the whole point of doing this in the first place. So I really hope they move away from that system, and get us back to the more traditional items, because I actually think this style of game with the more traditional items, particularly with the modifiers they've added in Tears of the Kingdom, would actually be really, really cool. I don't know, I just like it better, and I think it would work out better. I think it'd be a more rewarding Metroidvania-esque experience where you would explore and you'd find, I don't know, you have to find cool things to explore, but imagine finding one of these cool weapons in, just like you do with the armor. You find one of these cool weapons that has a special modifier, and now because you did the exploration, you now have a cool weapon with a special modifier that you can use in certain scenarios, just like you can with the armor. I think that would work. To me, that would work a lot better. Anyways, that's my durability rant. Version 3000. But really, I mean, that was those caves were the highlight of the stream. From there, we got back on the horse ride, and we're heading back to Woodland Stable. And like I said, there's not really that much more road before we're back to where we were. So we did go across that beach that I always think of, that was full of Yiga. I remember getting ambushed by the Yiga there in Breath of the Wild. But this time it's just full of crabs. They might have been full of crabs last time too. So I made a crab run, which was pretty nice. It's just fun to run down the beach and grab all the crabs. But really, besides doing that, we just trotted our horse back to Woodland Stable and finally got to turn in some quests. We got to turn in the picture quest. Got to pick the nice Goron. He was rubbing his belly in the hot springs, and we put it up, and it was nice. It was cute, and the guy was happy about it. We got to visit the Great Fairy again and upgrade the new armor we just got. I think we had another piece that we had found recently, so we upgraded a couple pieces. I really need to get to the second fairy. That's at some point. That's kind of like what I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I want to go back to Lookout Landing, but I also want to go back up to Rito Town and kind of make a loop where we check on the bridge, but also hit that Great Fairy. That main reason is to get to the Great Fairy we already met in the Hebra Mountains, because I want that second armor upgrade, because I remember it being really good in Breath of the Wild, where I finally felt like I wasn't dying all the time, and it felt much more worthwhile to engage in the combat because you wouldn't just constantly die. So it was good to hit this Great Fairy, but we really need to hit the second one. And then, of course, the finish. Of course, we had to do one more thing, and it was right. We're still in the original plan was to make a loop. I was just gonna make a loop this whole time. But we had to go back to Goron City, so we took the road on the horse like deep into the heart of Eldin, and ended up right in the heart of it. Well, I guess maybe the heart is Death Mountain, but Goron City, which is right next to it. We turned in the Traycon, Volcon and Trey picture quest where they wanted a picture of um, where they were born, and that's what led us over to Foothill Stable in the first place, because it's right next to that lake there. And so we gave them that picture, and they were happy, and it was fun. They were just old. They were just old Gorons, and they're like, oh, we got a plan for this trip and get there as soon as we can. It'll probably be 10 to 15 years. You're like, oh my god. Like, I love these guys. I love these Gorons, dude. And then we had a new quest for the Foothill Stable, which was take a picture of the big Daruk monument, which is essentially one of the cliffs of Goron City. They've got they've turned one of the mountains into Goron statues, and the big one is Daruk, and he's got lots of Goron there. So we went up to the top and found like the perfect spot to take the picture where you could see the whole mountain-sized sculpture. And like, oh yeah, we're gonna hang this. This is the one gonna go in the stable. So we took that picture, and it was great. It was great. It was fun, and that was kind of the end of the adventure for today, because we just had, it was like I said, just a travel episode. We just had a lot of fun traveling and dicking around. And the question is where to go now, because technically we could go around and go back to Foothill and turn in that quest, but oh man, do I like the circle again? I'm thinking we could just go back to Woodland, which is where I wanted to ultimately end up, and then head to Lookout Landing from there, because there's like a little road we didn't take, exit from Woodland, and I kind of want to see where that goes, because I think it goes back down to Lookout Landing, but I just want to take it. I just want to see what it's like. It like dips into the forest a little bit. But actually, since we're already in Goron City, there is a road that goes north out of Goron City and also goes to Woodland, and it, or the essentially the Deku Woods. I don't know what it's called. I forgot what it's called. It goes out there, and it might actually go all the way across the north. I think this is backwards, all these hand motions I'm making. It might actually go across the north and connect up with the top of Hebra, which is where the Great Fairy is. So I meant to check the map. I'm going to check the map and see if it does that. Because if it does that, I might just do that. I really like thematically coming back to Lookout Landing, coming back to home base, taking a rest, and then starting a new excursion, like to do the Rito trip. But if we're like already right there, we might as well do it. But it'll be like a really new trip because we'll be going across the Deku Forest. So I don't know. It might be too much. Like, I might have to be committing to doing the Deku Forest then. And I really don't want to do that. I just kind of want to make a quick revisit to Rito, see how they're doing, grab the Great Fairy, and then come back on the bottom road, because I haven't been on the bottom road, and there's like a quest there to get some more armor. So I don't want it to be forever, because I'm really trying to focus on the main story before I do a bunch of exploration, but I really need that gear upgrade. So I don't know. I gotta figure that out. We'll figure that out for next time. Which brings us to the end. I don't know when the next one will be. We've got all sorts of stuff coming up, like Next Fest and all sorts of things on the stream. So it might be a little bit, but that is the end of our adventure for day 34 in Tears of the Kingdom. We're making some progress, but man, I look at that map and there's still a lot uncovered. I feel like we still got a long ways to go. But I think we've officially, I think our next step is just to leave Eldin. So tentatively, I will call this our finish of Eldin. We finally have finished Eldin. We're ready to head out, ready to leave. We don't have any more out. Well, I technically have one piece outstanding business, but I think I'm going to leave it outstanding. That picture at Foothill. So that's it. That was our adventure today. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I hope you found it interesting. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope things go well for you, and I will catch you in the next one and see you soon. Goodbye.